In life, we all encounter obstacles, and those obstacles come in all different shapes, sizes, and forms. The question is, how do we handle those obstacles? Do we attack them head on, or do we allow them to make us quit? Welcome to the No Quit Living podcast, where we aim to motivate and inspire listeners to never give up on themselves, their dreams, or their goals. We will interview successful people from all walks of life as they share their no-quit stories when they had the choice to give up or give in, but they didn't. We thank you for listening, and we hope to be that jolt of positivity as you go for your greatness. Welcome to episode number 168 of the No Quit Living podcast. I'm your host, Christopher J. Worth, and today's theme of the day is determination. Our quote of the day comes to us from Kenneth J. Hutchins. It is your determination and persistence that will make you a successful person. Today's episode is sponsored by the good people over at West Fair Communications, who publish the Westchester County Business Journal and the Fairfield County Business Journal. These newspapers do a wonderful job in covering all aspects of the business world within two of the most influential markets in the New York metropolitan area. You can also take advantage of their daily news feeds, which keep track on the companies and thought leaders in these important regions. For more information, take a look at www.westfaironline.com. Trust me, once you start reading, you won't quit. It is a real pleasure to bring you today's episode. Our guest today shares quite a bit of insight into what it takes to coach the best basketball players in the world. As an assistant coach with the NBA's Phoenix Suns, Cody Toppert provides a lot of value during today's podcast. From where he was only 4 short years ago to coaching in the NBA today, he is clearly determined and shares our No Quit Foundation. I hope you enjoy today's episode. Cody, I'd like to welcome you to the No Quit Living podcast.
Great to be here.
I appreciate it. So the first question I ask everybody is, are you ready to make it happen today?
Always. Every day's a new day, a new challenge, and I'm ready to make it happen.
Awesome. So the number one objective of our show is to motivate and inspire our listeners to never give up. And I was curious if you had either a personal story or perhaps a challenging time in your life or career that tested you and you could have given up or given in, but you didn't.
Absolutely. It's really kind of at 3 different intervals in my life. I've kind of found a specific moment. One of them was when I was in high school, and this was a message that I used to deliver to the players who I coached at the prep school level, and that was when my local hometown team, the University of Mexico, did not offer me a scholarship, and that was really a frustrating time for me, especially because both of my parents played at the University of New Mexico. My younger brother would go on and become one of the all-time leading three-point shooters there. It was my local hometown university right in the backyard, and Frank Fischel, the head coach, didn't think I was good enough. So that was a time where I, fought, put my focus forward, was able to go to Cornell University and have a great career there, come back and sting the Lobos a little bit. At one point in time, I think I had, 25 or something against those guys. And that was a real proud moment for me. But, people doubting you at various intervals of your life, I think is just part of the story. It's part of your story, and your ability to fight back from those is super crucial. And without those moments, I don't know that I would continue to stay as motivated, as I have been, because, another moment came, right after I had finished playing when I wanted to become a college coach. And I had finished my college basketball career, and I'd gone on and I'd played professionally in the NBA Development League, as well as now known as the G League, as well as throughout Europe, had about an 8-year career. And I was coming back and trying to become a college coach. And I thought to myself, well, I have the educational background. I have the playing background. And I couldn't get a sniff as an assistant, as a director of basketball operations, even interviewed for essentially a spot with a mid-major university to get coffee, for lack of a better way to say it, and wasn't able to find that opportunity. And that was really frustrating as well. My wife, Brittany, who played soccer at Arizona State, was someone who really helped me through that particular moment. And that was actually right around the time I met a guy named Gannon Baker, who would have a tremendous influence on me by not only guiding me, mentoring me, and teaching me, how to be a coach and how to be someone who motivates others to get the best out of them, but also providing me with a platform to raise kind of my level in terms of, my reputation around the basketball world. And so fighting through that specific moment was a challenge, and overcoming that, and then getting interviews to get to to the NBA level, which was a huge goal of mine as well. And hearing no after no after no, and not knowing if it was ever going to happen, and then finally finding an opportunity. Those are the three moments for me, and I found my opportunity in the G League. And sometimes you got to take a step back to take a step forward. And for me, it was, I had a newborn child, obviously a wife and family, was doing well in the training company that with Gannon, where I worked with, coaching prep school, having a great time. Took a financial step backwards to really try to play the long game on it. And today, as I look back on those three separate times, I definitely would not trade them for an easy way out. And to me, adversity is really where you can find your true self. So those are my three moments.
I appreciate you sharing that. And Gannon's an awesome guy. He was just a guest on our show, and I appreciate he actually introduced me to you. So I wanted to just ask you if you wouldn't mind just telling our listeners just a little bit about who you are and what you do today.
Yeah, my name's Cody Toppert. I'm the director of player development and assistant coach for the Phoenix Suns. I'm from Albuquerque, New Mexico, born and raised there in a basketball family. Played at Cornell University. During my 4 years there, finished as the all-time leading three-point shooter in the history of the school, one of the tops in the history of the Ivy League, 1,200-plus point scorer, and all that type of stuff. Went on, played 8 years professionally overseas and in the NBA's minor league, the G League. After that, came back and really cut my teeth with Gannon Baker at Elevate Sports Institute, where we had a top-class prep school program, which was fantastic to coach at the prep school level and really, cut my teeth on the X's and O's and how a team fits together. And then what Gannon's obviously, known for at the highest levels, and that's player development. And, there had the opportunity to run our NBA pre-draft program where over a 3-year span, we worked with about 15 guys that were drafted or signed free agent contracts in the NBA, including some of the highest earning undrafted players in the history of the game, Robert Covington, Tyler Johnson, and obviously also most notable Terry Rozier. And then after that, I made my move to the Houston Rockets organization, where I became an assistant for their G League team, the Rio Grande Valley Vipers. Over the next 2 years, we would win the most games in the league. We would win the Western Conference Championship and lose in a deciding seventh game. It was actually a third game, but it was a 3-game series to the Toronto Raptors G League team. So we were runner up there. And then I got the head coaching job of the Northern Arizona Suns, which was the G League affiliate of the Phoenix Suns. Over that season there, we were able and fortunate enough to have the most call-ups in the NBA. We had 5 guys called up to the NBA from our team. We were one of the top offensive teams in the league, and in addition to that, we set a franchise record for victories. During that next off season, was again fortunate to get a job on the staff of Igor Kokoshkov, the first European-born NBA head coach. Where here we are today. We're 12 games into a really long season and a great opportunity to help develop young players. And tomorrow night we'll take on the San Antonio Spurs. So that's me in a nutshell, as they say.
Well, I appreciate it, and you definitely have a pretty strong lineage, both playing as well as coaching. And I think the best thing about the coaching world is, as you mentioned, sometimes you have to take a step back to take a step forward. A lot of times people see the head coaches in college, or they see people coaching in the NBA, and they think it was an easy road. But you just obviously touched on a little bit of your young career, and you've had a lot of steps along the way. So I appreciate you saying that, because it shares about how and why basketball world and any professional coaching world, whether you're GM, assistant GM, it's such a difficult world because there's so many more players than there are people that are working in it. So I appreciate you touching on that. So I wanted to ask you, if you don't mind, what is the word success, or what does success mean to you?
It's a great question. I mean, to me, the end result can't be your definition of success, because if your daily habits don't reflect what your goals are, then you're never going to achieve whatever that definition is. And so for me, my definition of success is maintaining a daily spirit about myself, where if I can just get a little better each day, then I am 100% confident that, the end goal was, from a team perspective, is going to take care of itself, or the end result, the end goal from an individual's perspective is going to take care of itself, right? Like, meaning you can't go into a season and say, hey, like, our team goal, is this championship or bust? No, it's got to be each day. Can we get a little bit better on both sides of the ball? What is it? Can we improve our pick and roll defense, right? Can we improve our fluidity in our early offense? Can we clean up turnover situation? And you've got to really pick these more micro aspects of the game in order to impact your macro performance. And I think it's the same thing from a personal perspective. My end goal, was always to be an NBA coach. Even further down at some point, I mean, it would be an amazing opportunity to be a head coach in the NBA, one of 30, right? So the top of the top. I never set that end goal, to be something that's anything less than extreme. But then my daily activities have to reflect that. So every single day, I need to try to take a small micro step forward towards reaching that end goal. And that is on the days, for instance, if I could just, describing our last 72 hours, we fly, we have to play Anthony Davis in the New Orleans Pelicans, right? We have about an 8-point ball game in the fourth quarter with a wide open corner three. It doesn't go down. Very discouraging, because we come back and we let that missed open shot kind of deflate us, leads to a three on the other end. Next thing you know, a couple things happen, and you lose the game by 15 or so points. And that is a game where you're two possessions from being in it, two possessions from being out of it. You leave the arena, you go straight to the airplane. Well, what's your next step? My next move, the next move of everyone on our staff, is to watch the film, break it down, figure out where it went wrong. Then the next morning, you land at, it's after midnight when you get to the next destination, which for us was Oklahoma City. You have one day in between. We meet as a team. We get ready for practice. We have a film session, and it's our responsibility to try and help pick up those guys' level. I mean, it's very easily you can get discouraged with that win and have that cloud the next opportunity for improvement. And, maybe that plane flight, man, I mean, I could use a little sleep, right? Close your eyes, you rest. But you have to break that game film down on game number 10 of an 82-game season, with the exact same eye and the exact same determination, the exact same dedication that you would as if you were going into and breaking film down for Game 7 in the NBA Finals. And for me, that's what I want to do. I want to prepare for every game like it's Game 7 of the NBA Finals, and I want our players to do the same. And that's exactly what I'm preaching to them. Because you don't just show up in Game 7 of the NBA Finals, right, and make the plays necessary to win that game, or, now we're in the moment, now I'm going to step it up. No, you have to have the habits that you build on a daily basis in order to get yourself into that position. So for me, my definition of success is every single day, am I taking a small micro step forward towards whatever my end goal is. And that's really how I hope our players are judging themselves as well. You don't judge yourself on last night's performance, but last night's performance was an opportunity, for us to reevaluate and now take a small step forward today. And that's what we're trying to do heading into playing, now we play Oklahoma City last night. We took our lumps. Back at it again today. Pound the stone. Pound the stone is our philosophy.
No, I appreciate that, and I think that's such a fantastic approach, and I like how you have your end goal, and which is being an NBA head coach, one of 30, but you have to do it each and every day, and as you said, you're only game 10 out of 82 in the sense as far as a couple days ago, and the reality is you have to approach every single game, and I think that's the best part about basketball is it's a long season, there's a lot of games, but the reality is every single one of them counts, and you need to make sure that you take advantage of breaking down that film. And for me, I think in the business or professional world, there's similarity is that every day you can be better, whether it's a meeting, whether it's preparation, whether you're a teacher, whether you're a parent, whether you're a significant other. I think there's so many opportunities to try to become a better or the best version of yourself. So I'm glad you touched upon that.
Yeah, and I'll say this too. We emphasize with our players, and this goes all the way back to when I was coaching at the prep school level, coaching high school kids with Gannon in Florida. It's a next play mentality. Next play. There's always a next play. And there are 3 F's to me that are like instrumental. And I think they apply to basketball, and they also apply to really just about anything. And that's focus, fight, finish. And so for us, it's focus this possession, right? It's irrespective of what happened last possession. We have to focus now. We have to be in the present, right? We have to fight every possession. can't take possessions off, and we have to finish empty, which means we have to give it everything we've got. We can't finish the game and have anything left in our tank, because then you have the what ifs. You're always going to be looking back for those what ifs, and that's the same exact approach that you can take in the business world, that you can take whatever it is as you're trying to climb up the ladder. And that's, to me, somebody's going to tell you can't do it along the way, whether it's you're trying to be a player, you're trying to get into a college, you're trying to get a coaching job. Somebody's going to tell you can't do it. And what do you do after somebody tells you can't do it? What do you do after you hear those words? Or what the next day, some guys say, well, they sleep in, they don't get to the gym early anymore, they don't get the extra reps, right? It's a snowball effect, and now all of a sudden that's, for them, it's done, right? But some people, that just motivates them. Okay, well, what's next? Next possession, right? There's something that's going to happen next, and if you're not ready for what's next, then it's only going to build in a negative way. If you're ready for what's next, and you wake up every day with that newfound spirit, anything's possible.
No, I love that next play mentality. And as I mentioned to you before we went live, one of my best friends, a gentleman who coaches at the University of Kansas, he was the assistant at St. John's. And when Norm was the head coach there, they would talk about that very specific thing all the time, is next play. You can't go back to 2 possessions ago, but you got to make the next play. And I think it's such a great concept, because it is for anything in life, whether it's in business or sales or family or being a teacher or being a high school or even middle school coaches, is we all have that next play. And the question is, are you ready? And I just loved how you touched upon what happens when someone's going to tell you can't do it, because the reality is every single one of our listeners at some point in their life, if not multiple times, they've been told by others that they can't do it and try something else, or it's not for them. And I think the difference between the champions and everybody else, so the champions go through that pain. So I'm glad you touched on that.
Absolutely. And I think, it's funny how basketball can be a microcosm for life and all these different things, and competitive sports and team sports. And, there's that moment, right? You turn the ball over, you make a mistake, something bad happens, and the other team's coming back on the transition side. You have an opportunity. In that moment, the mistake happens. The mistake is done. It's gone, right? And basketball is a game of mistakes. Life is a game of mistakes. Well, are your next 3 steps, are you walking to get back on defense? Are you having an anger-filled, transition where you're going to be running hard, but you're clouded with anger, and you're making a mistake, you're committing a silly foul? Or are you able to, dust it off and say, okay, my next 3 steps are going to be great. My communication on this possession is going to be great. I'm going to talk to my teammates. I'm going to be in the right spot. I'm going to anticipate my rotations. I'm going to close the possession with a rebound, and we're going to come back and we're going to make up for it with solid possession the next time. And if you have those sound principles, that's the true next play mentality.
No, I love that. And like you said, it's a microcosm for all of life. And I think at some point we've all had those ups and those downs. And the question is, we talk about all the time with No Quit Living, is what happens when you get knocked down, and what happens when you face your next obstacle or the next challenge. Do you give up and give in, or do you keep on going? So I wanted to change lanes here for a second and wanted to ask you, if you had to define yourself, but you could only use one word, what would that word be?
That's a really good one. Determined. That would be the word. Determined.
I like that. And based on your bio you share with us, you've definitely been determined, not only when you didn't get that scholarship in college, but obviously as your successful playing and now coaching career.
Yeah, and for me, I'm determined to, I think, not let anything prevent me from doing what I want to do, from a standpoint of providing for my family in a way that, for me, coaching basketball, I'm doing what I love to do. This is not work. You know what I mean? I'm determined to not let the last game impact my next move. I'm determined to not let, whatever happens today prevent me from any sort of success tomorrow. And, to me, having that sort of mentality, just a nonstop, insatiable determination to make something happen. If you envision it and you truly start taking steps towards it, like, you can make it a reality. 4 years ago, I wasn't even a coach. I was coaching prep school 4 years ago. You know what I mean? When you think about that, 2014, I'm coaching kids. And then you think about last night, I'm coaching Devin Booker against Paul George, and up in the stands is one of my prep school kids who attends a junior college in Oklahoma. You know what I mean? And it's just like a full circle, right? And then, that also, having him at the game, his name's Colin Kolowski, it was great for me as well because, everyone you touch and everyone that I've coached, I care about all of those people. And that doesn't mean I'm going to lie to them ever. I'm going to tell them the honest truth. Sometimes it's a hard truth, but at the end of the day, it's always for the betterment of that person and that player. And so to see, Colton's progress as well, and for him to, tell me, hey, coach, I'm proud of everything you've accomplished, everything like that, and you deserve it. Well, that's just to me like a credit to every time when, he had to run an extra suicide or every time he didn't have the next play mentality. And I told him, I'm not going to let you sell yourself short.
No, I love that. And that's one of the beauties of being a coach, no matter what level it is you have the opportunity to positively influence so many people's lives, not only on the court, but off the court. And I think that's awesome how you shared that 4 years ago you were coaching at the high school level, and now one of your players is in the stands watching you not only coach with and against some of the best, if not the best, basketball players in the world. So I think that's a testament, and I think, again, that the word determined fits with you perfectly. So one of the things we always look to do is add value to our listeners. And one of the things we often talk about is a daily or a morning routine. And I was curious if you have a daily or a morning routine that you swear by.
Yeah, for me, I'm an early riser. I actually I like to go to bed early and get up early. And for me, what I like to do when I get is really cleanse my mind. And my drive into work is great. And then I always get a coffee and kind of just clean the slate right there. But I like to get a lot of work done in the morning. I like to get a lot of my work done for the day before the day actually starts. So my preparation for, so tomorrow we'll have a shoot around, for instance, San Antonio, and then we'll play the Oklahoma City Thunder again right after that. So tomorrow morning, I'll get up at about 6 o'clock in the morning. Our coaches meeting will be at about 8:30 or so. But I'll get into the arena by 6:30. And so I've got 2 hours where I have my coffee and I'm looking ahead to, what can I do to help our guys win tonight? So that for me will include putting together my video edits for Devin Booker. My video edits will include some good things and some bad things on both offense and defense from the previous game, but also ways that I think we can exploit the San Antonio Spurs defense. I'll do the same thing for Mikal Bridges. Those are the two main guys that I'll deal with individually, and then I'll turn my head to, Oklahoma City is my personnel scout. So I, try to watch the last 5 games that the opponents played and really pick out their tendencies. So for me, by the time we go into our coaches meeting, not only will I have done a significant amount of preparation for how I can help our team and these two guys who I have significant responsibilities for that evening, all right? But then I'm also trying to prepare for what's further down the road. So I'm looking at both, the intermediate present moment where we have to be prepared for, but also we have to stay ready for what's next as well. So, and I try to do that even in the off season. So in my off season, I'm going to get up and I'm going to use that 2 hours, before my kids get up and we're going to, go play if it's summer or drop them off at school or whatever it is. I'm looking at last year pick and roll defense. So, I wrote a 50-page paper on pick and roll defense, and it was everything from how the best teams do it, what their coverages are, who's the best at it statistically, why they're the best at it by breaking down film. And these are little projects for me that I try to do every morning. I try to hammer away at something every morning. And if I can crack just a little nut that's going to give us a leg up, then that, our team's going to be better for it. Our organization is going to be better for it. Our player development is going to be better for it. Myself, from a professional standpoint, is going to be better for it. And so that's what I try to do. I try to take a 2-hour period early in the morning and really knock out as much as I can.
No, that's awesome, and I really appreciate you touching on that. And it's interesting because there is no right or wrong answer with that, but I think it's obviously a testament to the fact that you get into the office 2 hours before you need to be there doing your work. And I think it's really interesting because all of our guests have some type of morning or daily routine that they swear by that has led them to be successful in any field that they're in. So wanted to ask you, one of the words that we often touch on both in our podcast as well when we do speaking and training is the word accountability. And I wanted to ask you, what does the word accountability mean to you?
Yeah, to me, accountability it has to do with the next play mentality. Accountability, it has to do with doing your job. And that's a big Bill Belichick thing, right? Do your job. And when we end any film session with our Suns team, the very last slide our guys are going to see is do your job. It's control the controllables, right? So, the whole if you're on time, you're late. If you're earlier on time mentality is huge, especially, coaching on a team or really in anything you do, right? So if you don't care enough to be early for your meetings, to stay late and get your shots up, to watch that extra little bit of film. If you don't care enough to do those things, then you truly aren't motivated to be a champion at those things. And then the other thing is I can't control what my teammate does, right? The pick and roll defense includes two guys, sometimes a third guy, right? If we've got shifts on the weak side. So there's a lot of moving parts, right? But just because one guy doesn't do his job doesn't give me the right to not to do my job. And we all have to work together in unison to make it all come together the way we want it to happen. So if I'm over here, getting blown by or another guy's getting blown by and I say, and I'm not there to help him, our cycle of help's not there. Well, that's on me. And you can't have the mentality, well, man, he shouldn't have gotten blown by. That defeats the whole purpose. You can't do his job. You can't do his job. You can only do your job. What are you responsible for? What are you responsible for on this possession? What are you responsible for, from an offensive standpoint, right? And that's the whole conundrum with things like making a pass to the open guy, right? Well, if he's open, you don't hit him, and now the next time he catches it, he takes a bad shot. Well, why is he taking that bad shot? Well, this guy missed me 2 possessions before. Well, that doesn't help us at all. What you did doesn't help. That only hurts. That only adds to the problem. And then, another example that we were talking about today is throwing the ball ahead. If you want to be a transition basketball team, we've got to throw the ball ahead. Obviously, we've all heard this since grade school. The ball moves faster than our bodies. And then the flip side of that is the guys with the ball are saying, well, somebody's got to run ahead. And the other guys are saying, well, I ran ahead 2 times and I didn't get the ball, so I'm going to keep running. And so my message today to our guys was, you've got to be like a wide receiver in the NFL. Wide receiver in the NFL has to run every offensive snap that he's in the game as if he is going to get the pass. And then on any given time, he might get it. But if he didn't run every time like he was going to get it, then he's never going to get it, right? So it's a self-fulfilling prophecy. And then during an NFL game, a wide receiver might be targeted only 5 or 6 times, but have to run 40 to 50 routes full speed and not get the ball, right? So now that's the same type of discipline that we need to have on the basketball court. And that's again, it's a Bill Belichick, that's a Tom Brady mantra right there. Do your job. And to me, accountability is doing your job every day, every possession, on the court, off the court, in the boardroom, in the classroom, whatever it is. It's doing your job and handling your business and controlling the controllables.
No, I love that, what you touched on twice, and you just ended with it, which is control the controllables. It's something that we often talk about is you and I can't control the market. We can't control what the other offense does, but what we can do is we can control the controllables, how we react, what we do next. And I think, like you said, it's in the classroom, it's on the court, it's in the boardroom, it's in your own home with your family and your kids. So I think it's really, really interesting that you touched on that, because it is something, and which is why we love that word accountability, because it overlaps into all areas of your life. So I want to change lanes here for a minute. I want to ask you an interesting question. If you could go back and give the 20-year-old version of yourself one piece of advice, what would that advice have been?
I think, to be honest with you, I would say that I got that advice. The advice came from my parents, and that was the advice of seeing them every morning. My dad getting up 5 a.m. every single morning, calling in 0 sick days, going to work, pounding his stone every single day to provide for our family. There's not a bit of advice that I say, hey, like, I wish I would have known this, or I wish I would have known that. I had great direction from my parents and great leadership from them. I saw my wife and everything that she did. She was an elite world-class athlete as well, playing for the women's youth national team programs coming up. One of the best soccer players in the history of Arizona State. So those people have really, encouraged me and provided me with with what I've needed. I don't look back and say, hey, if I would have known this, if I would have known that. For me right now, as I woke up this morning, as I lay my head down on the pillow tonight, I'm in exactly the spot that I want to be in. I am in exactly the spot that I thought I would be in, because I refuse to let anybody discourage me or get me down. I'm a 2-win basketball coach right now. We're the Phoenix Suns right now. We haven't won a whole lot of basketball games, but I'm gonna get up tomorrow and I'm right where I want to be. And that level of adversity is something that I feel like I've been prepared for my whole life. And my message to the players is going to be tomorrow's our game 7. And I'm going to coach like it's game 7. I'm going to prepare you like it's game 7. And if you give us a game 7 effort, then we're going to have the best opportunity to win the game.
No, I love that advice. And I too have 2 amazing parents that absolutely just get after it. And I think that's sometimes the best advice is a role model that doesn't say it always, but they do it. And I think something that we often talk about is the action component. You can say things, you can use the right words, but at the end of the day, you got to put in the action. So I appreciate you sharing on that. Interesting question for you. If you could have dinner with anybody, dead or alive, who would it be and why?
You know, I'm corny, but it would be my wife. I mean, she's actually, the interesting thing about her is, as my playing career was coming to an end, you know, my parents have kind of made a name for themselves in Albuquerque, New Mexico, in the small business world. They own a building supply company and have really built that up. I was a applied economics and business management major at Cornell. I actually got my Series 6 and 65 FINRA securities licenses through Prudential. I was a player. I have all these different things that it was just, hey, are we gonna, you're gonna go hit the stock market? Are you gonna go into private equity? Are you gonna do, these types of things? And, I loved basketball, but it was my wife who was the one who said, you would make a great coach. You should be a coach. And I said, I don't know. I've kind of been preparing to do this other stuff, even though I love basketball and it's in my DNA. And she said, I really think that it's something you should take a look at. And then not only did she encourage me to get into this, she supports me every single day, every step of the way. So if I could get a babysitter and take her out for a nice meal and treat her and support her in every single way she has supported me, that would be my priority.
No, that's awesome, and I appreciate you sharing that with us. And I wanted to ask you before we let you go, if you have any parting words you'd like to leave with our listeners.
I've tried to kind of get as much out there as I could because, there have been times, and I love the name of this podcast. No quit living. There are going to be times I'm going to just get discouraged now in my career, right? There are times when everybody out there is going to get discouraged, and all this different stuff that I've kind of thrown out here there today, I think is what it's all about. But for me, my motto kind of that I live by is pound the stone, pound the stone, pound the stone. And what I love about the Stonecutters Credo is every little chip has a compounding effect in whether you're going to crack through, right? And that's what people fail to realize. It's not one heartfelt swing that cracks the stone, right? And what the Stonecutters Credo is telling you is that essentially every chip is going to weaken that stone. And eventually, it doesn't crack on pound 90, 91, 92, 99 even. And what happens is a lot of people give up after 99. And what they don't know is that if you took one more swing, the pound 100 was going to crack the stone. And what a lot of people end up doing is giving up just before they're about to break through. And they'll never know, but that's usually the case. 12 months ago, I wasn't an NBA coach. 12 months ago, I wasn't a part of the Phoenix Suns organization. You go back, I said 4 years ago, I was driving a van, all right, from Delray Beach, Florida to Orlando with a team of, 16 and 17-year-old high school players to coach in a tournament, up over near Montverde Academy. I had to launder the uniforms, wash the uniforms, unlock the gym, roll the ball out, sweep the floors. And now every day I get to go to work at Talking Stick Resort Arena, right? But it didn't happen in one moment. It happened in a bunch of small increments. And pounding the stone every day is the way to make anything happen.
No, I love that analogy, and that's something that we all know and we can all identify, which is hitting that stone each and every day. And like you said, it might not be the 98th, 99th, might be the 100th, might be the 101st. But I also agree, so many people unfortunately give up right before they win or they get to their goal. And last question for you is wanted to ask, what's the best way for our listeners to either to follow you or connect with you on social media, or just find out a little bit more about the stuff you do both on and off the court?
Well, I definitely love connecting with coaches of all levels. I have a website, CodyToppert.com. It's there kind of as a resource. Anybody you'd like to take a look at it. I've got some player development videos, some articles that I've written, and a little bit of information that might be able to help some younger coaches out there. And people can contact me through that. I'm also on Twitter and Instagram at Top33, 2 P's 2 3s. So that's at TOPP33. And again, any way I can help anybody out. There were people that helped me out along the way. Some of them have been guests on your show. Kevin Eastman was invaluable to me, throughout my career when I was, when I wasn't a coach, so to speak, just an aspiring coach. Gannon Baker, who's also been on this podcast as well, and their generosity with their time was instrumental in helping me, develop and understand what it takes to be successful. And so anything I can do for any young coaches out there, I would be happy to do so.
Well, listen, I truly, truly appreciate your time, and I look forward to definitely connecting with you again soon. And thank you for what you shared with us today.
Absolutely. My pleasure. Thank you so much for having me, and definitely look forward to listening to all the podcasts here on this No Quit Living.
Thank you for listening to episode number 168. Whether or not you are an NBA fan, Cody Toppert shared many lessons and advice that are perfect for all walks of life. One thing that Cody mentioned that really stood out to me was the concept of the next play mentality. Although this is a basketball term, it clearly is relatable to any part of life. We can't go back or dwell on something that has already happened or taken place, but we can all work on and prepare for our next opportunity. Only 4 short years ago, Cody shared how he was coaching prep school basketball, driving a van, and washing the uniforms for his players. Today, he is working hand in hand as an assistant coach in the NBA, coaching and both working with and against the absolute best talent in the world. Cody mentioned the term that we love here at No Quit Living, controlling the controllables. One thing Cody shared with us 2 or 3 different times on today's episode was the idea of pounding the stone. He shared the stonecutter's credo and how it's not that one heartfelt swing that does it, yet it's every single chip and swing along the way that counts. So where are you with your swinging? Have you chipped that stone yet, or are you still going? Perhaps you're about to give up because you haven't seen the light yet. Don't quit, keep going. Keep swinging, stay determined, pay it forward, and go for your greatness. And lastly, to our listeners, thank you. We truly appreciate your time, and we hope our episodes inspire you to keep on attacking life and never giving up. To quote Dr. Norman Vincent Peale, it's always too early to quit.